Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kaylee and today we are back on my completely flattened island for the first episode of a new series. This series is going to be specific to island entrances, but we'll be trying out a bunch of new themes that I've wanted to do. To start the series, I figured we could start off with something pretty simple and cozy, so today's theme is a Springcore Farm. I am super excited for this new series, so let's get right into it. If you've watched any of the other builds on my channel, you can probably guess where we're starting, and that's with some pathing. I always like to kind of map out my builds by laying down my pathing first. That way I have a general idea of where everything will be and it's easier for me to decorate around the pathing versus adding my pathing after I've already decorated, because then I have to pick up the decorations to add the pathing and that's just way too much work. And I know laying down pathing isn't super exciting to watch, so I have cut most of it out, but I laid down a little deck in front of Molly's house and I made a small dirt path to the entrance from the deck. And then right down the middle of this build, I'm adding 2 lines of pathing that would lead you to the rest of the island. And I love this double row pathing for a farm core island because it looks like either a wagon or a tractor is the one that has been driving up and down this pathway. And this is a farm core style island, so of course we need a farm in the entrance, so I'm laying down some of our dirt pathing in vertical rows, and I'm alternating between the light dirt and the dark dirt pathing because I want the rows to be visible, and I don't want there to just be one giant block of dirt. And then for the Springcore aspect of this build, I want the surrounding area to be pretty lush with some nice greens and whites. I decided to go with a simplified color scheme for the whites, greens, and woods because one, I feel like that's a very Springcore-esque style, but I feel like I usually go for more than 2 main colors when I build, so I wanted to challenge myself to build with a limited color palette. As if I wasn't already challenging myself enough with my other island Inkblot, which is an island totally in grayscale. But speaking of my other islands, later this week we actually have my first ever island tour of one of my own islands. So as you may know, since near the beginning of the channel, we've been working together on a post-apocalyptic island named Rebel. And the last build for that video was actually posted on Saturday for all of the channel members, so this week we will have the final tour of that island. And I'm super excited to share it with you. This is my favorite island that I've ever created, and I'm so happy that I actually was able to finish it. I've actually been thinking of making a video on how I go from a blank island to a finished one, including how I plan out the whole island and my process for coming up with build ideas, so let me know in the comments if that's something that you'd be interested in watching. I know EJ Plays came out with a video on his channel where he went through the whole process of creating one of his islands from start to finish, and I love that video. So it'd probably be something similar to that, but like I said, also including my process for getting ideas, especially since I think I'm one of the very rare people that actually fully plan out an island before creating them. I also wanted to mention a little change coming to the channel when it comes to the frequency of posting content. So for a while the goal for my channel was to post 3 times a week, and to be very honest, having a full-time job and juggling outside life with the goal of posting 3 times a week really left me with no free time for myself, and I was getting burnt out, and that's why last week I took a small break from posting. So moving forward, I will be posting 2 videos a week, and every other Saturday there will also be a video or a podcast episode for the channel members. And this way I can spend more time creating those videos for you without the need of rushing or burning myself out, because I really do love making these videos and building in Animal Crossing, so I don't want to ruin the fun of it by just overworking myself. So with that change being said, I know we had a new island coming up, with that being either the Dark Swamp Core or a Dinosaur Jungle Island. And that island is going to take a small pause until we are done with Inkblot, because the goal is to have 1 video of this new series and 1 video of my main island. So that main island right now will be Inkblot, and then once that island is finished, we will switch over to the new island, which I still have to make a decision on which theme to go for. But yeah, that's the update, and I hope you understand why the schedule is changing a little bit, but I'm excited for it. Also, is anyone else like super busy in May? I feel like this whole month I'm constantly running around like a chicken with my head cut off. We have Mother's Day and my mother-in-law's birthday, my husband's birthday, and in the States we have Memorial Day. So it's definitely a lot of fun things to celebrate, but just a lot going on the whole month of May. But I am super excited for my husband's birthday because I got us a hotel stay at Disney World, so we will be spending a few days on site and going to the parks. And we do live in Florida already, so technically we could just drive to the parks each day, but it's so much more fun when you get to stay on property in a hotel. Plus it's for a birthday, so it's a little extra special and not something we do very often. But I've basically grown up going to Disney because I do have an immediate family member that works at Disney, and they've worked there since I was basically a month old, so I've been going to the park since I was a baby. And it's funny because when I was a teenager, I actually went through a stage where I convinced myself I didn't like Disney because I guess I was a teenager and thought it was cool to like dislike it. But once I started dating my husband, he told me he hadn't really gone to the parks growing up that much when he was little, so we would go every once in a while, and I finally got my excitement back for the parks, and ever since then we've gone every once in a while to the parks and have a lot of fun, even though it is super hot in Florida and the parks are always super crowded. Back to the build for a minute. I finished densing up the front of our build with our nature items, and now I'm working on the actual farm. And for this farm, I wanted to keep it the same color scheme of the whites and greens, so I'm using the white and green pumpkins and adding in the same color flowers as well. And I did get the inspiration of this type of farm from a picture I found on Pinterest, but I'm adjusting it a bit to fit our theme and colors, but I do absolutely love this picture. I also meant to go back through and pick some of the pumpkins and water them so we had groupings of 2 or 3, but I completely forgot before filming the last clip, and I didn't remember until after I tore down this entrance to build the entrance video for next week, so just imagine some of the pumpkins are in sets of 2 and 3. Thanks. And for this area, I didn't really have a real method of where I'm placing these specific pumpkins and flowers. I just wanted to make sure that there weren't 2 of the same pumpkin or colored flowers right next to each other, and we're just keeping all very random. I also like the addition of the gardening tools and the spooky items because I added a watering can, a bucket, and then a few of the spooky lanterns and chairs in this build, and I feel like it adds to the build and it's just not like a giant field of small pumpkins and flowers. The small details go a long way in a small build. And now that our farm is done, we are moving on to the area right behind the farm, and at first I was just going to add some trees and make this a little foresty and just call it a day, but then I had the idea to make a little barn or a shed where Molly can keep all of her gardening tools, and I went with this idea because it's a little bit more interesting than just a bunch of trees and shrubs, plus I love making fake buildings in this game. And this is a super easy build, and I actually got the inspiration for this build from Bela.acnh over on Instagram. You might have seen that we toured one of her islands in the past. But for this build, all you need is 2 gazebos, 5 storefronts, and a plain party lights arch. She also had some cute decorations out front like a doghouse and a shovel, but I'm going to adjust those slightly to fit more of our theme and vibe. But if you haven't seen the tour of her island exposure, make sure to check that video out after this one, because there is a ton of amazing buildings for you to get inspiration from on that island. Getting back to the idea of this new series on the channel, what are some of your fun ideas for entrances that you all have? I've been thinking of maybe doing some builds based on popular movies or TV shows. Like, I definitely want to do one inspired by the new Mario movie, even though I haven't seen it yet. Maybe I'll watch the movie first and then build it. So if you see a Mario build in the future, you'll know I've actually watched the movie. But I do have a whole list of ideas that I've come up with and some of the ones that you've suggested as well. And let me say, some of you went a little crazy with your suggestions. Like, someone suggested a board game inspired build, so immediately I thought about Candyland or Monopoly. But there were some more normal ideas as well, like Elegant Core or Kid Core. And some of them are actually ideas that I've included in polls for picking my new island theme, like Wild West or Grunge Graffiti. Both those themes I really love, but I definitely would think it would be a little difficult to make an entire island out of. And honestly, that's why I came up with this idea for this new series, because I have so many ideas for builds, but not many of them could be an actual whole entire island. Like, maybe I could stretch it to a whole island, but I would definitely get burnt out and probably just quit the island. So making just the entrance is a lot less stressful and less commitment, which I like. But please let me know your ideas for future themes in the comments below. Like I said, it could be your favorite movie or TV show, or just some crazy idea that you have, or it could just be your favorite theme in Animal Crossing. Literally anything. I'll read it. We are getting kind of near the end of this video, but I just finished decorating the outside of Molly's house, and for this area I wanted to keep it pretty open so you could still walk through it. I did block off the right side of the house though with some trees, because if I were to make this into an actual build on an island, I would want the only way for you to go is down the big pathway down the center, and I'm just a big blocker offer when it comes to building. But now just a few areas with some details, like the adorable pumpkin sign that we added, and I will have all the codes I used for this build listed down in the description box for you. I honestly didn't use that many. It was basically the dirt path, the wood deck code, and a few filler codes like the weeds and rocks, but that just goes to show that you don't need a whole bunch of codes to make a beautiful build in this game. I'm also cutting out a little bit of me densening up the sides of this build. It's basically me planting a bunch of stunted trees on the inner side and then adding in the bigger trees on the outer bits with a bunch of flowers, shrubs, and other smaller natural items in between. And here's the final build. But that's the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. Before you leave, make sure to give the video a like, comment, and to subscribe to the channel. If you watch to the end of the video, let me know what you think of this new series. Bye friends! And here's a giant shout out to all the channel members. Hit that join button down below if you want to join the ranch.